poems that I'd like to share with you this morning. The mental and spiritual practitioner must resolutely turn away from any form of limitation. He turns to the formless, for out of this a new form shall come. The practitioner must first of all believe, because God is belief. God is belief, and belief is law. The law produces form in substance. When Jesus explained to his disciple that they had failed to heal because of a lack of faith, they protested that they did have faith in God. Jesus explained to them that this was not sufficient. They must have the faith of God. The faith of God is very different from the faith in God. The faith of God is God. And somewhere along the line of our spiritual evolution, this transition will gradually take place, where we shall cease having a faith in God and shall have the faith of God. Always, in such a degree as this happens, a demonstration takes place. We must believe, because God is belief. The physical universe is built out of belief and faith. Belief, acceptance, and conviction. And so it is.
And so it is. Through the eyes of a child. If you look at the looks on their faces, they have the faith of God. They know. So as we take this time to just sit, if it's comfortable, close your eyes. Take a deep cleansing breath. And as you breathe gently in and out, I'm going to read you a few of the words of that last song because it speaks to me, and I'm thinking it will speak to you as you listen to just the words. Because what I know is that if I truly have the faith of God, my dreams are already a reality. So just breathe in and let these words into your heart and know that it is so. I close my eyes and I can see the world that's waiting up for me. The world that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's ever been before, but it feels like home. They can say I've lost my mind, but we can live in a world that we design. Every night I lie in bed, I think of what the world could be. A vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're going to make. And as you continue to breathe gently in and out, think about that. Think about the looks on the faces of those children as they sang those words. And remember when you were a child, all things were possible. Remember the awe as you looked at the lights of Christmas. And maybe you saw Santa for the first time. Or maybe you simply dreamed. But for you, it wasn't a dream because you knew, as a child, you knew it would happen. So as you continue to breathe gently in and out, Ask yourself these questions. What are your dreams? What world would you make for yourself? Because you know that's the world you will make for everyone. Just let the thoughts flow, whatever they are. Nothing is censored. Just take a few moments to sit with those dreams and try to look at it through the eyes of a child, knowing that with God, all things are possible. Now, with those answers to those questions in mind, I want you to visualize that world. Where are you? And what are you doing? What does that world look like? Who are you with? And most of all, how does it feel? Just open your heart and visualize whatever it is. That is your dream. It is the world. And take a few moments to sit with that. As you visualize that world, take another look around. Is there anything you would change? If there is, you have the power to change it right now. So take another look around. If it's perfect, then just sit in that wonderful world, knowing that it's yours and it is the truth of who you are. As you take that next deep cleansing breath, you prepare to come back to this place and time, knowing that the world that you have just visioned is the world. It's the reality. And as you do come back, everything else falls away and you bring that world with you. Because you do have the power to create that world. It's all up to you. You simply need that faith to God that is already within you. Open yourself to the love that's around you and that makes all things possible, and just let it flow. So when you're ready, just wiggle your toes, wiggle those fingers, open your eyes, and come on back. So welcome back. And I know the song said a million dreams, but we know it only takes one. We may have to dream that dream a million times because we don't have the faith the first time, but it does only take one dream, and one person to go on that impossible quest to reach those stars. That person is you. So I want to take a moment to just be thankful. On Thursday, we had Thanksgiving, and that is a time when we give thanks. Some of us spent time with friends and family. Some of us spent time alone. No matter where you were or what you were doing that day, it is all about giving thanks. And I know that sometimes we may look at our lives and go, man, I don't have very much to give thanks for. But if you really think about it, we have a lot to be thankful for. Even if you did spend the day alone, you still have things to be thankful for. Simply the fact that you woke up, you got out of bed, you breathed. I'm pretty sure you had a roof over your head and food to eat. Maybe you didn't have anybody to share it with. I've had Thanksgivings like that, but I've cooked for myself and I've enjoyed it anyway. I watched the Thanksgiving Day parade. I did whatever I wanted. And granted, I would much more preferred to be with friends and family, but I just gave thanks for where I was. And is that true of every moment of that day? No. Did I have a few moments of sadness? Of course I did. I'm only human. But I gave thanks. And I know that some of us too, even if we are around friends and family, that can be pretty difficult. Because some of us, members of our family, can be very challenging. But once again, how you react to that is up to you. Do you let those challenges cloud your day? Or just breathe and let it go and enjoy everybody else? Did you reach out to anybody? Did you make a phone call and say, hey, I just wanted to wish you happy Thanksgiving? Or even a text. Somebody maybe you haven't spoken to for a while, because you don't know how important that might be to somebody. If you didn't reach out to them on Thanksgiving, you got time. You can still do it. And I have a terrible habit of thinking of my friends and even some of my family, and I think about them, but I don't contact them until all of a sudden I do. And it's always so funny because it's like, or they call me, and it's always so funny because oh yeah, I was gonna call you. I was just thinking about you. So it's that connection's there, but sometimes it's that personal touch that you need to have. Basically, whether or not you enjoyed that day, that was your decision. The quality of your life is your decision. What you do in the moment, that is your decision. You can decide right now to go straighten out that bookcase or read your emails and texts, or you can decide to listen to this talk and maybe, just maybe, you'll get something out of it that you'll be able to take and apply that might just help you apply this philosophy just a little bit better, because that's what this is all about. We are science and mind people, and one of the things that we do is we bring what we know about science and mind, we share it with people. And sometimes when you hear it from a different perspective, you may already know the stuff, but you hear it from a different perspective, and it goes, oh yeah, it's just like what Reverend Maryellen read to us. What's the difference between the faith of God and the faith in God? We're going to talk about that today. And what does all that have to do with what if? Because you know, my title always has a meaning. We're going to talk about too. But what I want to do right now is, before we begin, I want to just take a moment to be grateful. Because this is the season we call this a season of giving. And one of the things that we give during this season is thanks. So let's just take a moment and just breathe. And close your eyes if it's comfortable again. And think of something that you're grateful for. And I think there are so many things. It doesn't have to be just one thing. Let's just think of that. The more you live in gratitude, the more love you feel surrounding you, because you are surrounded by love. So just breathe in that love. Be grateful. Be giving and be loving during this time. And I just like to share this little message I saw somewhere. It kind of spoke to me. It says, gratitude helps us see what is there instead of what is not. So think about that for a moment. I really like that. Because when you're grateful, you have to focus on what is, not what isn't. So I'm grateful for all of you. I am grateful for Science of Mind. It has not only enriched my life, but it has actually saved my life several times. And the title of my talk today is What If? And I know you're probably asking, what's the connection between the faith of God and faith in God and what if and all these impossible dreams? What on earth could possibly, how can she connect that? Well, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure. But I can tell you, I got to practice what if this morning. Because, you know, I always have a story, and this isn't the story I planned to tell, believe me, when I wrote this. But I have a story. So here it is. Last night, we went to dinner with my family. And I'm sitting at the table. And I got this pain in my ear. And it was like almost felt like I was having a shock. I'm like, that's really weird. And I wear hearing aids. So I took it out and I didn't really see anything. And I had another one. And I'm like, is this hearing aid shocking my ear? I mean, I'm like, what the heck's going on? And pretty soon my daughter-in-law sitting across the table looking at me going, you need to take your earring out. I think your ear's bleeding. I'm like, okay. So I took a napkin and my ear was bleeding. So I went to the bathroom and I, figured I actually got some blood on my sweater and it was bleeding. So I went to the bathroom, I plugged it up with toilet paper and went back to the table and I don't know. I had no idea. I thought maybe I had a scab in it I had scratched or something. And I get home and I'm reading all about this stuff and it goes, perforated eardrum. Well, it turns out I haven't been to the doctor, but I know it's what it is. I'm totally deaf in my left ear at this point. And I'm knowing because I went through what if, because I could stand there and I go, oh shit, I'm going on a cruise and now I can't hear anything and I've got to do this talk on Sunday or this morning. And how am I going to do that talk if I can't hear anything? And I'm like, okay, what if? What if I just gave thanks? Because I can hear it on my right ear. So I can still hear. So what if I just give thanks for what I got instead of focusing on what I don't have? And I'm like, okay. And I did. Now, is it a pain because I can't hear in my left ear? And do I like it? No. But I am so very happy that I can hear out of my right ear. So it's what if? I can tell you again, as I've told you many, many times, which is kind of why I said what if. I have another story that I'm going to go ahead and share with you, but this is a really tough time of year for some of us. I love the holidays. I've always loved Christmas. I love the awe in the eyes of a child when they look at the Christmas tree. I love lights. I'm in awe of the lights. I mean, it's just, to me, it's a really great time. But it's also a very, very difficult time because my husband passed away 3 days after Thanksgiving. My mom passed away on Christmas Eve day. And although it's been many years ago, those things don't go away. Now I know, and I really do know this, that they are both still here with me. I talk to them. Sometimes they talk back, especially my mother. She's really good at talking back. But I do talk to them. And sometimes I can actually feel my husband. He's in the wind. He's in the stars. He's all around me. He's actually in me. He's not really gone. But as I told my practitioner the other day, yeah, but I can't touch him. That's the part that's hard. I can't touch him. But he's here. And I know that. And unfortunately, there are still times when I just get overwhelmed by, I guess, the loss. I don't know what else to call it. And this happened to me the other day as I was driving to work. And I actually had a mini panic attack, and I can talk myself out of it usually by just saying, at least for the moment, by saying, okay, when you get where you're going, you can have a total breakdown. But now you're driving, there's nowhere you can pull over, so get there and then fall apart. So, and then I said to myself, because there was this voice in my head, this is where what if came from. This voice in my head said, what if you looked at it a different way? What if instead of only going for the loss, that emptiness that you feel, what if you thought of all the things that filled you up? Of all the things that your husband did that brought you joy? What if every time this happens, you think of a time that you were joyous just because you were with him? And I'm like, wow, that's pretty profound. God talks to me and I talk to him. So we're talking, whoa. And then I start going, what if? What if instead of focusing on how hard it is for me to do things with this hand that doesn't exactly work the way it's supposed to, what if I said, yeah, but it works? It does work. And then I started thinking, wow, we could just do what ifs for anything, because it's all about how we think about it. And the what if, it's not really a what if, because it's really what is. Because the truth is, I have a hand that works. The truth is, I have an ear that works. The what if part is what you focus on. So what if you focus on that instead of all the other stuff? Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have moments when you're still going to have, especially with a loss, you got to feel that, but you don't have to sit in it. There's going to be moments of sadness when this time of year, there just are. If you've had a loss, I think. And even if things aren't the way that you want them to be. But the only reason they're not the way you want them to be is it's that what if. Because it's like that quote I told you, gratitude helps us see what is there. So if we're grateful for what is there, we cannot focus on what is not there. And guess what? This is where that faith comes in. Because the truth is, we can have anything we want. We can have any life we want. We can be happy, whole, and complete because we already are happy, whole, and complete. There's my spiritual self where everything works. It has never been touched by anything because it is perfection. And if I have the belief of God, I can touch that perfection. I can key into that perfection. And instead of ignoring what's going on with my body, I can do those things that I know I need to do to make it work better and be more in tune with that perfection that's actually there. But that's up to me again. I have to make that choice to do the work. And that's one thing about Science of Mind. We have to do the work. And I think it was Emerson who said, and I have that quote in here somewhere if I could only find it, that we have to get our bloated nothingness out of the way. And that, I think, means, first of all, the ego, thinking that we can do it all by ourselves. And then we have to get that race consciousness that says, you can't do these things, you're not good enough, or, whatever it is, we have to get that out of our minds. We have to get our bloated nothingness out of the way so we can sit there and sit with the God that we know is right where we are. Now, I know that most of us were raised to believe in God. I certainly was. I was raised as a Protestant. We prayed to God all the time. But God was somebody, out there. That's what we were taught. Or he's up here, depending on where you are and what you're doing. But we talked to God out there somewhere. But I didn't. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me how I knew this. But I have known from a very, very young age that God is right where I am. Now, I don't think I knew he was a part of me and I was a part of him. But I knew that he surrounded me. And I don't know how I knew that unless it came from my surgery when I was 7 and I almost died. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because I knew at that point that I was here for a reason and that I was surrounded by love and that I will always be guided and guarded and protected. And I knew that. I've known that all my life. But I know that we're taught that God is out there. And when we come to this Science of Mind, it's kind of what do you call it? It's a big change in concept, because God is not out there. He's out there because he's everywhere, but he's right here. And I am one with God. And that's why when Jesus told the people that they weren't healed because they didn't have faith, they said, we have faith in God. But they didn't have the faith of God. And the truth is, we can have anything we want. We can have a world we want. We can have things we want. I'm going to say a little bit about that in a minute. But we have to have that faith. We have to know. We have to know that it's here, because it is. It's here already. It's just waiting for us. But we have to know that. And what I think is, well, I'm going to say this too, because I think it was kind of funny. It came to me, but when I was talking about knowing that God was right here, I could never envision an entity that was sitting outside myself passing judgment on people, because we were taught to judge not lest you be judged. So this God out here that's going, oh, you're going to hell because you didn't do this, but heaven's here. You can come here if you do these good things. And I could never grasp that concept because it just didn't make sense to me. Because if we're not supposed to judge, then certainly God's not judging. And well, certainly in science of mind, if God and I are one, there is no judgment. Which is why when I found science of mind, I really knew that I finally found the place where like-minded people are and where I could learn and where I could grow. So basically, back to faith in God, to me, faith in God means that I have faith in something outside myself. That's why you pray to God. That's why you plea and ask for things and make deals. And we've all done that. We've all been there. I think even as science of mind people, we've been there because that's how we think and that's how we're brought up. And that's that bloated nothingness we need to get out of the way. Because the faith of God means that it's mine to use and it's a part of me because I am one with God and I am all that God is. I cannot be separate from God or the faith because we are one. And if I accept that there is only one, then there is nothing else that is true. So back to what if. What if just for today, because sometimes when you're going to do something, make a change, it's easier to do it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, and one moment. Just be in the moment and do it for the moment. So what if you let go of anything, any thoughts, any feelings that are not bringing you joy? Just don't even let them there. Put them away. I know it's not always easy, but just for the moment. And when you think of a loved one, or even an animal whose passed that you missed, when you think of something that you missed, think of the joy that that person, that pet, whatever it is, that experience, think of the joy that brought you. And what if you turn off the news and you refuse to listen to anything negative? What if you gave up judgment? Let's be real here. We all do judgment. Sometimes it's the way people look. Sometimes it's the way they talk. And maybe it's only for a moment. But what if we gave up judgment? What if we gave up judgment of ourselves? What if we looked at ourselves as being that perfect child of God in whom he is well pleased? What if we loved ourselves the way God loves us? Think of that possibility. Because the only thing that's stopping you is you. You can have it all. God wants you to have it all. He put us here to have a joyful, wonderful life. He put us here to experience life through him. Do you think he wants a sad, depressed life? No, he wants a wild ride. And by he, that's that person inside you. You deserve all there is. And it's all yours. All you have to do is open your heart, open your mind, and have that belief of God. That's all it takes. So will you do it? At least just for the moment. You know, in science of mind, we have these people called practitioners. And you know why they're called practitioners? It's because they practice. Because this is a practice. I believe that anybody for the first time, or even the second time, or even the third time, is a practice, a daily practice. And one of the things that we as Science and Marvel practice the most is to monitor our thinking. Because truly, I know we say all these things all the time, but life is a mirror. And it will reflect back to you what you think. Because your thoughts are powerful. They come from God. If you listen. So it's up to you. What's the life you want? What's your dream? Because your dream is actually a reality. Anything you can dream already exists in the mind of God, which means it already exists. You just have to know it. And by know it, I mean you have to feel it. You have to believe it with the belief of God. That's what it's all about. And that's the what if. The reality is that you are a perfect child of God and all things are possible. So let's just take a moment and I'd like to read you a little mini treatment that I found from good old Raymond Charles Barker. He says that I believe that at the center of my being, there is a power, which is a joyous creative power. I believe that my recognition of this power causes it to act for me. I now recognize it and say, come forth, break through every obstruction with which time, space, and memory have surrounded you. Break through every pattern of the I can't or the I shouldn't or what will happen if I do. Break through the past of background, heredity, and tradition. Joy in me come out through me in creative ways of good, unrestricted by my own memory and my own background. Come out and operate through me. There is a joy at the center of my being. This joy I did not create, but it created me. The joy in me is spiritual power. I now release it. Nothing in me blocks it. I let it out and it finds creative ways to appear. It makes me a whole and better person. It takes me out of what I am not and into what I really am and into what I want to do and will do. And so it is.